So I met David through, we're both consultants for Vi Consulting, and David jumped onto that group. It's kind of we're a group of consultants that are kind of loosely coupled, but when we have big projects, we come together and do things. And David jumped in and just kind of shared a lot of value from his background, and that's kind of how I know him. You guys have probably read the flyer that we put out, but he's done so many things, and he's been in this data science, data governance world for 20 plus years. And you'll appreciate it. I've gone to several of his webinars, and you can get him online as well. But he just has this cutting edge knowledge and an approach to AI and governance that is refreshing and authentic and realistic. And so I thought this group would love to hear from him. So with that, turn the time over to you, David.
All right, let me share my slide deck. All right, can everybody see my first slide? It says AI governance background and fundamentals.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, first slide, this is just a background slide on my company, AWS Solutions. We've been doing this work for, as you mentioned, 28 years. It's been quite a while. So we've basically every award you can win in the world of data. This is just a list of some of our client partners. We've had over 150. And when I do a talk, much like the one I'm doing today, I want to give you guys the best practices. What are people actually doing to make this successful? That's what it's all about. This is just my background slide. I will not bore you with it, but I did include my email address. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I've written 4 best-selling books around technology and data. And again, I won't bore you with all this, but I've done a lot of stuff. So what am I going to talk to you about? By the way, in case you missed it, we decided that we will take questions as we go. I love questions. Don't hesitate. If you have one, jump in, hit me with anything. Give me your hardest questions. Those are the most fun. Anyway, I'm going to talk today. This is just a background and fundamentals course on talk on AI governance. So I want to talk a little bit about the landscape we're in today and AI adoption, get quickly into background and fundamentals, why there's a need for AI governance. I want to go through the landscape, why these applications are unique. And I know we have a couple people who it sounds like are working in this area, which is great, along with some drivers for it. Again, questions as we go. So let me get going. AI adoption. I love this chart because I think it sums it up. So as Guy knows, I tend to work a lot in the C-suite and with leadership. And this is what I hear. Normally when you talk to these folks, the first thing they're going to say, our data's messed up, we're not ready for AI. It's just a common refrain I've heard over and over again. And really, when you look at where we're at today, and this whole slide is based on Moore's work, for many of you who know, we're in the chasm right now. We have leadership for Global 2000 companies who are saying, hey, for $25 a month, I can have OpenAI do a lot of stuff for me. How come you're saying it's going to cost millions to build these AI applications? Little do they know that Microsoft has put over $23 billion into OpenAI. It's losing tons of money because they're, again, capturing market share, but none of that's all that relevant because it overinflates expectations. What I'm seeing companies doing with AI today is, well, also, they're also risk averse. I don't think I'm mentioning it in this talk, but there have been some massive lawsuits. The state of Texas has won not one, but $2 billion plus settlements against some big tech companies for violations of some of their laws. So companies hear about this. There's, in fact, right now, and I always forget to pull this, there is a group of authors. So there's a class action lawsuit against, again, the Claudes, OpenAIs of the world, because they scanned people's books that they wrote. And I had actually received a letter inviting me to be part of it. I've not had time to look at it. And that's kind of not how I'm wired. But anyway, I do find it funny, and it's nice to say you're, a case that you've been referencing, then suddenly you get an offer. So when executives hear this, they get scared and they get worried. And so we have this situation where we have very high expectations on what's possible, a lot of fear, and then the third rail of it. Us as practitioners are just learning how to implement AI. The best practices are forming. Most of the really great ones have not even been thought through yet. So in my world, and my focus is not so much building AI apps, it's really the governance around them. And I like to joke, nobody's really done it. When you look at AI governance in a holistic manner, a large implementation. I'm fortunate. I have a large federal client partner where I've had a chance to do this work. How much are they really going for? Small trickles. We're just starting out small. So that's where we are today, the chasm. Maximum fear, maximum expectations, least knowledge. It's only natural we're in the chasm. In a year or two, we will not be in the chasm. We're going to get into, really the early majority and then so on and so forth. So I think we will certainly see a boom. It's just not going to happen today. Sorry about that. One of the things that I should also mention in this, there was a Gartner study that came out where they had polled CIOs, and what they really view as far as AI development as 2026 being the year of foundation and strategy, and then really implementing in 2027. Most of you know those things slide at least 6 to 12 months. Should give you a pretty good idea of when really large implementations will come about. All right. Now let's talk about AI governance background and fundamentals. Can't believe we didn't have a question on that one, but that's okay. You guys are a little hesitant right now, but I'm sure it'll come. All right. When we look at what is AI governance, it is really referring to a framework. It's not a single thing. It's a framework of technologies, capabilities, policies, regulations, and risk management. When I hear people talk about AI governance today, it is almost exclusively on risk management and almost exclusively, what word do I want to use? Non-business focused, maybe is the best way to talk about it. When really, when you look at how to govern something that is of this magnitude and with its capabilities, you have to have technology to help simplify it. You do need to address risk management. There is no such thing as building an application that has no risk. That has never been the case, ever. Regulations, whether we're talking about NIST, RMF 1.0, whether we're talking about GDPR, whether we're talking about any of the declarations coming out of the White House, there's a lot of regulations around this. None of them have been synced together at all. So if you're a global company, you have to deal with every country's different set of regulations. Quite complicated. The policies. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of those. So you went from that slide where we're in the chasm to AI governance, and this is one of the. I don't know if we covered it or if you would even agree with this, but in my mind, this has to be resolved before we start to really hit that big super growth where everybody's quote unquote doing AI, but we're not seeing the deep integration, deep penetration into organizations because they're scared of governance, right? They don't know if they're going to be afoul of some future regulation, and they don't have the systems in place to govern. I think, in my perspective, this is a huge issue with the technology adoption, with AI adoption. So this kind of has to happen, and you're going to give us kind of where the state is right now and some of the things we might do about it, right? So.
Absolutely. And if some of you follow me, and Guy, I know you attend my webinars, I'm actually doing a 7-part series on all this stuff. It's very much at a C level. Here, what I'll do, I'm not certain how to, because it's reduced, you guys. What I'll do is at the end of the talk, I'll put a link to my LinkedIn. I announce all my stuff off there. So I actually give diagnostics on this. Guy, to your point, this is foundational. If you're going to try to build a massive AI application, and I'm not talking something small. I have a client right now, their big AI achievement is they're using it to translate PDFs that are not in English into English. Pretty small application, not a lot of risk. So please, I'll put in my little hand. I go through all of this from a foundation because it has to be there, to your point, Guy. Without this foundation, you're going to see these initiatives just go careening into the wall. There's no other way. Great question. Great point. Policies. When I mention policies, I'm talking about what are we doing internally? And this presentation is really focused at massive federal agencies, global 2000 companies, but even if you're a mid-market company, these can be applicable for you. And then capabilities. I am a believer in capabilities. If we are implementing data management or data governance or leading edge analytics, I want elite capabilities. Doing all this manual will not work. It has never worked. So I've had the opportunity. Again, some of you know my background. My team, we implemented the first working counterterrorism data warehouse at the FBI. Big initiative. Nobody had ever done it before. Mayo Clinic, their bleeding edge cancer analytics. I'm the architect. My company is one who implemented that with them. Worked with some great people. So I really believe you need to build capabilities. Paper and SharePoint are not capabilities. All right, let me keep going. I could pontificate on that for a while. One of my hot buttons. All right. AI governance's primary goals is to ensure that our systems are designed and used ethically, they are transparent, accountable, and reduce risk while promoting innovation and organizational benefits. So let me go through this. Ethical. AI systems need to be fair and remove bias while protecting human rights and privacy. None of them are doing this today. And you know why? Because even our analytical systems do not remove bias. There are 32 types of bias. All applications built by human beings have bias. Why? A human built them. Many of you have been through a PhD program. You literally, a chapter of your dissertation is dedicated to what you did to remove bias. Yet, I've never seen an analytical application actually address bias. Therefore, they are biased to begin with. AI takes that to the next level, far beyond. So, big issue. Some of the ideas that people have for removing bias or planning for bias are fascinating, but I won't bore you with that. Transparent. An AI application has to be explainable. And I don't mean to an AI expert, and I don't mean to a technologist. You should be able to pull somebody who is in a blue collar field, explain what your application does, and you should be able to get it. If you can't explain it, you are not in control. And don't be fooled that you are. You are not in compliance with anything. You are out of compliance because they have to be explainable. It's critical, and transparent. And transparency talks about that. All right, let me keep going. Accountable. We have to be able to audit these things. And I don't mean auditing once a year. There should be continual automated auditing along with critical human beings who are part of this. We're doing a deeper dive. I could go into all that stuff, but it needs to be present or it's not going to be successful. All right. Reduce risk. Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
I got another question on that. This is something I've been thinking about because as I'm building systems with AI, I'm able to build systems that are much more complex than I could myself, right? So I'm getting to the point where auditing a system is no longer feasible. Well, I'm not quite there. Like myself, I can audit the systems, but I can see a point within a month or two where I'm building systems that a single person isn't going to be able to audit in a reasonable amount of time. And so,
yeah, so OTEL is a nice standard for, so as you guys understand, AI systems evolve and grow over time, unlike our traditional applications, who maybe those de-evolve as we keep stapling, but that's a joke, if you will. AI systems, by the sheer nature of how the model evolves and grows, keeps changing. Therefore, there are some standards like OTEL's probably the best one out today that allows you to build in some automated checks to see how it's changing, how it's growing. You need to have strong guardrails depending on what kind of decisions you're making. If you're making them on your customers or about your constituents, they better be damn good and they better be well thought through. Or there's going to be some challenges. If you're a manufacturing company, you better make sure that you're guarding the way you're designing and building out your products. So there are some standards that have a little bit of meat to them. They are growing. I do think you need ongoing human checking of these things for the critical stuff, not the little baby stuff. So that application I shared that's just translating documents, if you really look at it, the risk is so incredibly low. And humans are looking at them at the end of the day anyway. So if the model really missed a translation, it's not that big of a deal. But if we're talking about automated decision making, we're talking about serving a customer, then we have to do something better than that. Great question. Yes, sir.
Quick question on the ethical side. When you talked about bias, I know in data science, generally speaking, when you're looking at a data set and you're trying to analyze data, removing a bias is something that is part of the process. Is the statement such that there is an assumption that AI does this, but we don't know what it is? Is that what the statement is?
Bias is inherent in our processes today. So there is bias in our data today. Forget AI. AI, because of how, depending on the application, but if you're talking about a RAG lookup or you're talking about training a large model, there's just going to naturally be bias. A lot of these engines, let's use OpenAI as an example. How did it train its model? One of the ways is it scanned the whole darn internet. Is there any bias on the internet? Probably most of the people here don't spend a lot of time tweeting things, or tweeting's the old term, right? What would we call it today? I don't know. Xing things? I don't know. That sounds wrong. But I think that's where the challenge comes in. Data in and of itself is bias because humans are using it. And I rarely see, even from a data scientist, a bias plan that is anything other than remedial. If you really understand bias, if you understand how bias can come in, I rarely, if ever, see a plan that would even be considered, grade school level compared to a doctoral program. They're just not that great. Rob, did that make sense? Did I answer your question?
I suppose. I know that there's bias in all things, right? Like, so if you scan, you could say that, I don't know, like, for example, the media may be fundamentally more left-leaning than right. That type of bias, right, I would imagine is what you could use as an example. But in the same way, there's other biases that could be baked into data. And I think that a data scientist in general has to understand that when they're looking at it. I think that it's a broad statement to say that data scientists in general ignore that or do haphazard job in looking at bias, just because if they're looking at it every day, they're focused on that.
Well, and when I say, so I didn't use the word haphazard or they don't at all. My word was it's very remedial, and that's what I've seen. So I've done this for a long time. I've worked with probably 1,000+ data scientists, and I'm telling you what I see. What I see, if I ask for a bias plan, do they know there's even 32 types? No. I've yet to have one know that fact. You have to have anyone at a talk call up and say, oh, Dr. Marco, I know the 30. No, they don't. I then ask, how did you? So I will give you an example of bias. Somebody may say, hey, Mr. Data Scientist, create a report of our top 20 customers. They go, okay, I'm going to go do it. Already they're off. Here's the problem. What do we mean by top 20? Top of what? Revenue, profitability, opportunity? Who is defining that? Is it the data scientist? Wrong person. That should be somebody from the business. because they understand it. And that's what I mean, Rob, that what I'm seeing out there, and I'm just being, I don't like to be gray. I think a lot of speakers who don't really do this stuff are gray. I'm telling you what I see. I've been at probably, so I have gone enterprise-wide in analytics or data management. I've done it 40 times, I think. And then I've then at least consulted at least as an advisor to another 100. And then with all the talks, probably 4,000 or 5,000 organizations. I mean, and I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. Maybe it's different at your place, but I've yet to see really great.
It's for me. It's just clarifying what you're saying. You're saying that people are making decisions based on assumptions, and that is their bias.
Yes, exactly right. And those assumptions cause big problems. I can give you a ton of examples. I don't, but I'm sure you could probably think of a few yourself.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I would just like to see a better plan. That's all. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can't remove it all, but a little better plan. All right. That's the most anyone's ever asked me about bias. I like that. Promote innovation and benefits. AI governance applications need to make, AI governance must make our AI applications more accurate and able to provide greater benefits. I am a strong believer, I will die on this hill, that when governance is done correctly, it should not be a speed bump. It's not a bunch of committees. That's what most people tell you it is. You do it that way, you will become a speed bump and you slow it down. Great governance, when implemented correctly with real executive decision-making, governance that holds up under pressure, especially regulatory pressure, it's going to speed up your development. Because developers are not going to be making, to Rob's point, those assumptions and those guesses. They are going to know, I go to Mary, she makes this call. I go to Jim, he makes this call. They'll know exactly the direction they're going. And I strongly believe that AI governance done correctly is going to speed up development, not slow it down. Because what I see is a lot of these organizations will build an AI pilot. And they go, oh, that pilot worked great. We created our own synthetic data, problem number one. We ran it with a fraction of what we have. And then, hey, this worked great. Let's make it enterprise-wide. And then, kaboom, everything blows up in many ways. So anyway, hope that made sense.
And governance needs to be, because it is a non-deterministic process that your AI systems will continue to grow. Governance, the systems aren't going to govern themselves, right? They're not going to.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do a 2 + 2 = 4, and if the system puts back 5, you're going to be like, well, that's wrong. You've got to have these things in the guardrails, the governance in from the beginning, so that you know that what you're getting out of it is what you intend to get out of it, and it's not changing in some weird way and things like that.
God, 100%, you have to have that plan, and that's what I think is important, especially planning for our reality at our company, whoever that is. So I get a laugh sometimes when we'll get you're looking at software vendors, and they go, look, we pumped a petabyte through our system. Oh, have you ran it with a petabyte with a client partner? Nope. So you created the data? Yeah. Okay, that's one version of this. And for many of us who've worked on site, the systems are not well done. At FBI, I referenced them. They had a system, I forget the acronym, but it had an A in it. This is a live working system. The A stood for allies. For those of you who recall World War II, I was not born then, but it was Axis versus Allies, and that was the actual reference. I spoke to a CIO just earlier this week. He has a operational data mart that is primarily, this is techie, primarily composed of floating tables, which I don't want to give people a dimensional model unless saying, nope, that's we're already off the guardrails, and this thing's already over a petabyte. I mean, rarely do you hear about a data mart being over a petabyte. These are problems. Just to your point, guys, just to give you some examples to back up your thesis.
Thank you.
No problem. Great point. So why do we need AI governance? I think we spoke about it quite a bit. Is that this is a new area. There is the inherent risk of bias in AI models. And I will tell you, from a media perspective, they're just waiting to jump on this stuff. I mean, there are multiple lawsuits with insurance companies, Allied Health Group, Cigna, State Farm, a couple others, I can't quite recall. Again, if you go to our YouTube page, you'll see I did a whole talk on these things. Really big time litigation, all because of bias. And some of it as professionals, we would view a little bit differently. I'll give you an example. They were declining people, they were telling people that they used AI to make a decision of people to get discharged from the hospital. And these decisions were being made in 1.2 seconds, with an AI model. Now, as professionals, we understand how fast computers work. 1.2 seconds for a big, powerful engine does not sound all that unreasonable to us. But here's the problem. Some people died because they were discharged early. That's a big problem, especially to those families. And when you go in front of a court and you're the opposition, you're the prosecuting attorneys, their application these decisions in 1.2 seconds, you're doomed. You are doomed. You will talk about how you're going to sell because it just sounds bad. When we talk about AI applications, I want to make sure we define it a little. We're talking about a stack. Rarely is a company building an application soup to nuts. They're going to build an LLM. I mean, no one's doing that. They're going to buy a model. They're going to buy an LLM. And actually, even the applications they may be using are probably a stack as well. So keep in mind when we talk about AI applications, we're not talking about a single application. We're talking about a stack, something that there is going to be multiple components to. When we talk about governance, we're talking about governing the stack. All right. I know we're going a little over time, so I'm gonna hurry up some of these. There are so many AI incidents. ChatGPT early on used to tell you how to make a Molotov cocktail. Well, that's great information, probably something you don't want to do. Phishing is a big deal. Voice and image, my goodness, is huge. CEO of a company got faked into with a phishing scam to transferring over almost $250,000. Uber was running over somebody with a self-driving car. The Dutch tax authority, thousands of Dutch families were wrongfully accused of tax fraud. Disinformation. This is a powerful thing. You can read all about these. Go to incidentdatabase.ai. You can just, I don't go there and read a whole lot of them, but I did for these slides. AI paired with the internet can be used to mimic thousands of people to influence large portions of the population. It's amazing and devastating what can be done. And I think deep fakes are one of the most concerning things. Most of you know this. I like to ask which image here is a deep fake. The answer is they all are. None of these images are of those actual people. They're all deep fake. And probably most of you have seen these. The Tom Cruise one is a video where you think it's Tom Cruise and he starts stumbling around like an idiot and falling over doing a bunch of stuff. This stuff, to me, is terrifying because you can imitate anybody. And you even see it in movies now where they're using deep fakes so that older actors or people who don't want a physical risk to do these stunts where they can be viewed. AI's ability to deep fake could be the biggest concern of all. And I believe deep fake identification software will be as ubiquitous as antivirus. I think our phones will have it. Questions?
Have you seen the opposite of this potentially cropping up in some sort of business where they're actually providing some sort of signature? So similar to the SSL signatures, we're going to show you a video, and lo and behold, for $9.99 a month, you can use our service to confirm that this is indeed the video Because I see it going both ways probably, but I haven't heard of anyone tackling the authentication side of it. Have you seen that anywhere or anyone else?
Dave, I have not, but I would love to invest in one because
Let me get
it's
going
just
on that. Need to get my AI
right. I mean, it
agents
makes all
going.
the sense, right? Like when you bring that up, how do we even trust anything anymore? I know a lot of folks who are, pretty young, and it's one of the things they bring up to me. Like, we don't know what we can trust anymore. Like, can the singer even sing? If you will.
Yeah.
Great Dave,
Yes.
great point. I've not seen one, but if you find one, can you let me know?
I'll just keep asking.
Good. Great question. So let's look at the landscape quickly. And again, I'll try to speed up here a little bit because I know we have a 1 hour meeting. AI governance, please understand, it's a brave new world. And for those of you who've read the book, it's somewhat like that. Even more advanced regulations like NIST, who I referenced earlier. I had to go through this standard in great detail with my work at my federal client. That standard is voluntary. You are not required to follow it. And so few organizations have implemented enterprise-wide AI governance, which I shared with you. And the software solutions are up and coming, but they are few and far between. AI governance has to adapt as AI continues to evolve and change. One of the things we see just 8 months ago, we couldn't send out millions of tokens that would crash everything. Now we can do it. This is changing constantly, and that change will not slow down anytime soon. So if you are to go into this field, I personally love it. I'm excited about it, but be ready to change because it isn't going to stay stagnant, and I think there's so much opportunity in it.
Quick
Much
question.
to Guy's point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Quick question. Just real quickly here. Are there alternatives to the NIST? I mean, I'm sure there are, but are there others that are generally accepted, standardized? Because NIST is heavy. That's a big, I mean, I just getting the headings alone, I was like building it out in Confluence, and I had to use tools and scripts and AI just to build it out in just the headings of all of the sections.
Matt, I was going to comment. It was clear that you have experience with this. It is heavy, it's big, and it is difficult. And I wouldn't implement all of that, nor did I make that recommendation. You have to right size it because it's too much. I've not seen anything that helps with risk as much as NIST does.
That's okay. I comment this from in the insurance world, we are governed state by state. And so we have all these insurance commissioners, whatever else, and they have their own take on AI that references NIST or similar is what they say. And NIST is pretty heavy. The other challenge I have, and this is around governance, and, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but the other real concern I have with governance is the way at least insurance commissioners are defining AI encompasses technologies that insurance has used since the 60s. Statistical models are falling under under the same sorts of governance patterns, and it's really becoming a lot more hindrance without even changing our technology.
Matt, I agree with everything you've said. 100%. It's really the challenge. Like even things like GDPR, which was not written for AI, is incredibly applicable, and that has some teeth. That's something real. CCPA, same thing. To your point, nobody anticipated this in the standards that do have teeth and exist, and the standards that are coming out. Again, I think NIST did a better job. Is it too weighty? Yes. Would I ever implement all that? No. I would scale that sucker down. I like using NIST as, here's my checklist. What's really applicable to what we're doing? And by the way, I've worked with many insurance companies over the years. People don't realize how difficult the 50 states are. They just, especially with your codes, my goodness. So yes, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I mean, if misery loves company, you have company. Great point. I'm going to go kind of fast through here because I know we have some great questions, and I love the questions because that's where there's value, I think. Here's the thing: these AI applications are unique in that they make decisions or inferences without human inspection or evaluation. That's what's different. So this is something we have to think about along with how they learn and change. And these regulations that Matt just brought up, they're changing too. I had to brief someone at my client on this. And I just did, 1.0 came out fairly recently in the world of standards. And when I went to type in to look, has there been an update? It was showing a 2.0. I go, no, there better not be a 2.0. There is not. But I just don't want to read through those 60 pages again. Anyway, so AI applications are expensive. I don't think I have to go into any of this, but they are very costly to build. Most companies, again, are doing basic use cases or mid-level complexity, but they are costly. Keep going. AI adoption. Here's something. There's not a ton of really great statistics on this, though more and more are coming out. But there was a study done by Gartner. It's a peer community, and they polled 200 IT and data analytics leaders. By the way, we talked about bias. Does anyone hear bias yet in this study? Since we only polled AI and data, or IT and data analytics leaders. Ding, there's your first swag at it. But anyway, the study polled these people, and not surprising, what were the main drivers for their AI applications? 59% said data and analytics strategy, 57% said business strategy, and 42% said executive interest. So it's interesting where some of these applications are going. Oops, sorry. My clicker is being a little bit sensitive today. So keep going. Okay, same study. So they asked, hey, what negative impacts has your organization experienced due to a lack of AI governance? Well, 47% said increased costs. Remember my thesis that I strongly believe AI governance done correctly is going to lower your costs, speed up your development, make it more powerful. This is the exact same thing that happened with data governance for the last 15, 20 years. When done correctly, if you really know how to implement that stuff, you can accelerate and should be accelerated. Other thing, 36% said failed AI initiatives, 34% increased revenues, negative customer experience, and even negative employee experiences. This is important. When we talk about AI governance, I want you guys to think I've focused quite a bit in this talk, maybe too much exclusively on AI governance if you're building an AI application. Equally important is AI governance for your employees' use of AI. This is something, so for example, you have one of the biggest problems with using an OpenAI or a Claude, whatever your favorite one is a lot of times people will type in a query and they think the answer is 100% accurate without questioning, without looking at a source. And there have been employees who have said, oh, what's the maternity policy at XYZ company? And then they tell, they believe that's the policy. And then it turns out it's not. These are just, that's a very simple and low risk, lower area example, but I'll give you one. If you've plugged your systems into an AI application, do you really want your folks to be able to look up everybody's salary or medical history? Oops, that would be catastrophic. These are the kind of things that the employees' use of AI needs to be, you need guardrails because AI allows you, so as a tool, it is sensational. I love it. I had to update an insurance policy for my organization, and I was able to analyzing it. And I'm not an insurance policy expert. That is not my area. Maybe Matt is. Matt probably would be a better qualified than I am. But and I think we have a couple other insurance folks. You guys would be the smart ones. But I was able to use AI and then ask 5 to 7 like really smart questions and get a better policy because I was able to utilize it, analyze it. Fantastic. What a tool. It took me 5 minutes. As opposed to do that on my own, to look up everything. I think the document was 220 pages. That would be weeks and weeks of my time, which I just don't have. So great, it's a great tool, but we need some guardrails so that our employees don't use it in a way that they shouldn't. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. And there's software out there that is doing it. I had a company show me their product recently where they actually do that, where they put guardrails up and try to manage. They're kind of like an AI firewall for ChatGPT to prevent people from doing things they shouldn't. All right. AI governance roles and responsibilities. Not surprisingly, a lot of people want to see accountability and decision rights. This is a key role. In my practice, again, I tend to speak more to leadership. Accountability and decision rights are some of their top concerns with AI. This is where the leaders who maybe were pushing or on the AI bus jump off the AI bus. And that's something that is really critical because the accountability and the decision rights, especially for these algorithms, needs to be carefully thought through. And the question I like to ask folks, if your AI application was being audited by the SEC, is it ready? Do you have the decision-making framework in place? Because that's called decision-making under pressure. Doesn't get much more pressure-filled than that. And we need to be prepared for that because it's what we deal with in our regular business. And I know we have some people, we have insurance here, we have steel here. Steel, my goodness, your stuff can't start bending and collapsing, in the real world. That would be catastrophic. So anyway, let's continue. Gartner estimates that by this year, organizations that operationalize AI transparency, trust, and security are going to achieve a 50% improvement in terms of adoption, business goals, and user acceptance. To me, Guy, you brought it up earlier on the must-haves. I view this as a must-have. We need to have transparency and trust and security in order to believe in this stuff and to really use it. All right. 40, we have about 12 more minutes. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I'm sorry, the duplicate slide here. I apologize. Let me wrap it up and then open it for questions. Data governance programs or AI governance programs are going boldly where no one has gone before. Hopefully everyone gets the reference. One thing I've learned by being in the IT world for as long as I have is there are no magic bullets. Sometimes somebody is going to tell you, hey, buy our software, buy our service, buy whatever, and it'll do this for you. I've yet to see that. And I was here at the onset of when data warehousing became big. I was on here at the onset of data governance and data management, and now AI. It's not going to be different here. There are not going to be magic bullets. AI built correctly, though, I truly, truly believe, should empower people and not overwhelm them. And that's really what I kind of dedicated my career now as this is switching, is ensuring that AI is going to empower us, but not overwhelm. With that, I just want to open up. I'll stop sharing. And I want you guys to hit me with your questions. Give me the hard ones. Give me the really tricky ones. We had Matt ask me a hard one on NIST. And why does it have to be 60 pages? And why will it bankrupt us? Because that's what NIST does. But it was a great question. Hit me with it. Anything you like.
Let me ask you a question, David. So talking about those AI platforms that are out there, right? They all kind of do the work. But in your experience, which ones do you think are better? Like we have OneTrust, Dynamo, Credo, Monitor. Like in your experience, which ones do you think are more complete?
Oh, that's such a great question. I would not want to name one because I've not reviewed them all yet. So I'm familiar with OneTrust. Have not done an implementation yet, but I know the CTO, so I know that company for quite a while, and they do very good work. I wouldn't be able to credibly tell you which I think is the best, and I'm not going to annoy everyone by saying it depends on your requirements because. But certainly what I do, I'll just tell you how I do those kind of evaluations to maybe give you some guidance. List out what you want it to do. What do you think it needs to do? Then make sure to assign a weight. Like if you're going to do an evaluation, assign a weight to each one because the best product differs based on the account. So I'll give you an example. My federal agency, they're a big, or you would all know who they are. They're under Homeland Security. The software I would bring into them looks completely different than the one that I would bring in to a digital services provider. Completely different because of the requirements and just in the world of DHS. I mean, you're not going to let something call externally. You're just not. So
right, and they have a lot of different ethical procedures than the rest of us.
Yes.
Or
exactly.
lack thereof.
Yes, exactly right. Dave, I think that was David. Yes, 100%. And it's there's something called DFARS clauses. I will not bore you what they are, but think of them as a very difficult bridge for anything to work in the federal world. So you can't just take like if you created like really great software, it isn't going to be allowed even to function or be purchased in the federal world until it goes through something called a something ramp, FedRAMP process.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Great point and great question. And Tiago, I like your Iron Man helmet. It's very fun behind you.
You mentioned a question. You mentioned this, how much it costs to train these models. One of the concerns I've thought, sure, they're investing, lost leader, just trying to gain market share. At some point, as we've seen with so many of these software companies in the past, they're going to say, hey, we've got market share, let's start milking it. And then the prices, I think, will go through the roof. I wanted kind of your take on that. And I think from a governance perspective, what are your thoughts on how to mitigate those risks?
Wow. So clearly, Guy, you have paid close attention to how software and IT functions. That's exactly how it's going to go. There it is going to be, and we even see it with OpenAI right now. Like they are trying to get more people to pay for it. They are throttling down execution, especially on free plans, even on ones that have, pay their $25 a month. They want you to go to the pro at $300 a month. We see all of it. And Guy, that is exactly how it will go. We've seen it across multiple industries and across time. Yes, now it's being given away. It's, because Microsoft gave them $23 billion. First off, Microsoft doesn't give anybody anything. They clearly are running the show, which $23 billion you probably should. But that's going to be the way it works. How can we guard against it? I would strongly urge companies to lock in longer pricing, to put that into your initial contracts. And if you're fair.
Oh no, I lost him. The key part.
Keep extending the contract.
Oh, he's back.
But we lost you
for a while, David.
Yes, you know what? I turned on when we were struggling a little bit. I turned off my VPN and it just turned back on. Sorry about that. So let me repeat that. When I negotiate my contracts with a software vendor, AI or whatever, it doesn't matter. I like to lock in pricing so that we can continue at our current rates. Because what happens sometimes, I have a vendor, I have a client partner purchase software, you get a 40% discount, and then in 3 years, it's embedded, and now the contract's up, and now the price goes up 60%. No, we're going to have some option years, be able to continue with that. And we're going to be fair to them too. There'll be some inflation escalators and some other things. We're going to be fair to our vendor partner, but what we're not going to do is be taken advantage of. Great point, Guy. You're you have correctly predicted what will happen. Any other questions? I know we only have 4 minutes left.
Did you ever?
I love all the. Oh, sorry, please.
Yeah. So one question that I get asked very often from my clients is that when we come with the AI governance approach, usually they say, "Oh, I already have the data governance framework. I don't need AI governance." They kind of don't see the difference, right? Did you have these situations as well? And how do you respond to those?
So 100% that has happened. I have been fortunate with my client partners, basically because the ones I work for, I'm normally working with the CDO on the data governance. So you get trusted people, enjoy working with, so you're able to expand their horizon. But you're exactly correct. Data governance, the way we've done it historically, even if you did it really well, it has to evolve now. And it has to evolve with AI governance in mind. To me, they're ingredients of the same stew, if you will. Like, we want to manage our applications and do it right. And whichever one you want to be the steak and which you want to be the vegetables and the broth, you may select. But I'm completely with you. I think what you're seeing is a problem. It's going to take time to educate the field that data governance is not the same as AI governance. They should be one recipe for managing our risk and managing these applications. They should be part of an overall framework. It's how I view data management. Data quality there used to be separate data quality conferences, but if you do it right, data quality is part of the recipe for data management, which was data governance, data quality, master data management, reference management, and now AI governance is part of that mix as well. Great. Got a great point.
I have a good question for as a quickie in the end. What's the single most important thing we should be doing in the next 30, 60 days?
Oh, is that a good question? And doing for your company when it comes to AI governance? Just to clarify?
Yeah.
Okay, superb question. Ensure that 30 to 60 days. Great question. I would say that, one, identify the policies you need to adhere to. It's based on your application. So look at the GDPRs of the world. That probably falls into place somewhere. And I apologize, I don't recall the industry. I would look at those policies to ensure that we have a plan for them. In addition, we should, if we're building applications that are going to impact customers, constituents, or product development, we need to ensure that there is anything that's critical in the decision making. We are having a human look at some of those, a qualified human, at least a smattering, and that we have automated checks. These are things you can plan for and ensure that are part of your application. Decision-making framework, that I probably should have mentioned that, 30 to 60 days. That's something you can do when pressure comes, whatever that is, SEC, third parties, partners, whatever that looks like for you. Who's going to make the decision? And that's a name. It's not an application. So Scott, is it you? Nathan, I'm just looking at names. Nathan, is it you? Guy, is it you? Bettina, is it you? I would also look at that.
Thanks.
No problem. That was a very, very smart question.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you all. I turn it over to all of you. Thank you so much. This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.